I want you to picture this. You've typed talk to a human for, I don't know, maybe the fourth time.
Oh, we have all been there.
Right. You're staring at your screen, your blood pressure is just rising, and the chatbot replies, I love humans. But first, let's rephrase your question. Here is a link to our FAQ.
Which is just the worst thing to see in that moment.
It's infuriating. It's like the universal modern frustration. You type agent again, and you honestly just want to throw your phone out the window.
Yeah, totally.
But what if the core problem in that specific maddening scenario isn't actually the AI technology itself? What if the real issue is that the company deploying that chatbot has absolutely zero visibility into what its customers actually need?
See, that is the invisible structural flaw right at the heart of the whole customer service industry today.
Right.
We are so conditioned to blame the bot for being, stupid. But the bot is essentially just a messenger.
It's just doing what it's told.
Exactly. It is the visible surface of a deeply flawed, entirely misunderstood underlying support system.
And that framing brings us perfectly to the mission for this deep dive. We are looking at a piece of writing from April 2026 by Krishna Raj Raja.
Which is a fantastic piece, by the way.
It really is. So he's the founder and CEO of SupportLogic, and he wrote a book called Support Experience. The article we're looking at is titled, Why SupportLogic is Step 1 for Your Chatbot ROI Strategy.
It's a very bold claim.
Yeah, and our goal today is to explore why this massive industry-wide rush to deploy AI chatbots is, in so many cases, completely backfiring. Like, it's just not working.
Not at all.
We're going to look at the secret prerequisite to making customer automation actually function, which, as we'll see, comes down to extracting hidden signals from existing messy data. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because there's a statistic right at the top of this article that completely sets the stakes for this entire conversation.
The Gartner one, right?
Yes, the Gartner research. So according to Gartner, fewer than 30% of B2B chatbot deployments meet their projected deflection targets within 12 months of launch. Less than 30% hit the goal.
What's fascinating here is the pathology behind that massive failure rate. I mean, the author diagnoses this as the chatbot trap.
The chatbot trap.
Yeah, and the cycle is incredibly predictable. A company looks at their bottom line. They decide they want to save money, free up their human agents, right? So they go out and buy a shiny new AI chatbot.
Makes sense on paper.
Sure, but then they deploy that bot against a support queue they don't fundamentally understand.
Oh, wow.
They take this brand new, highly capable AI, and they train it on a company knowledge base that is just, full of stale, contradictory, or incomplete articles.
So it's like, it sounds like hiring a brilliant lightning-fast chef, but putting them in a pitch-black, completely unlabeled pantry.
Yes, that analogy hits the nail on the head.
Like, you are definitely going to get meals fast because the chef is working at record speed, but those meals might be terrible because they're just grabbing random ingredients in the dark.
Exactly. And the trap deepens when we look at how these companies actually measure success. They base it almost entirely on what they call deflection rates.
Right, I've heard that term.
So leadership looks at a dashboard. They see that the bot handled, 5,000 interactions this week without a human agent ever getting involved, and they pops the champagne.
They think they won.
They do. But those deflection metrics are hiding a much darker reality. Customers aren't actually getting their problems solved.
They're just giving up.
Yeah, they're hitting dead ends, getting frustrated, giving up on the chat interface, and then escalating the issue through an email or a phone call anyway.
So the bot didn't deflect anything.
It didn't deflect the problem at all. It just delayed the resolution and agitated the customer in the process.
But wait, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Because we are living in the era of incredibly advanced large language models. Aren't modern AI systems smart enough to just read a company's old support tickets and figure out the patterns on the fly? Like, why can't the AI just turn the lights on in the pantry itself and sort the ingredients?
I hear that a lot. But that assumption is exactly why so many deployments fail. Yeah, the short answer is no. A conversational chatbot cannot figure out your operational data on the fly because historical support data is incredibly messy.
Messy how?
Well, we are talking about massive archives of unstructured text. Think about what a real-world support ticket looks like in the wild.
Just a wall of text, usually.
It's a chaotic mix. You've got threaded emails, hasty notes jotted down by agents who are rushing to close a case, messy logs sitting in a massive database in Salesforce, Zendesk, ServiceNow, whatever.
Oh, right, with all the typos and everything.
Typos, internal company jargon, fragmented thoughts. An AI chatbot is designed to hold a conversation and retrieve specific information.
Not organize the garage.
Exactly. It is not designed to act as a data scientist categorizing 5 years of chaotic human history.
Okay, so if a company has, say, 5 years of messy Zendesk tickets, how do they actually get the signal out of that noise? Are they expected to just rip out their whole CRM system and install something new to categorize it?
Oh gosh, no. Ripping out a CRM would be a nightmare. No one wants to do that.
Good, because that sounds expensive.
It is. So this is where an intelligence layer, specifically a tool like SupportLogic, has to come in as the prerequisite step.
Okay.
It actually sits on top of the existing CRM architecture. Instead of moving the data, it uses natural language processing, or NLP, to mine all that unstructured text right where it lives.
I want to dig into the mechanics of that NLP, actually, because the article mentions it extracts the customer's true intent, their sentiment, the urgency, and their churn risk.
Right.
How does the software actually read sentiment or frustration? Is it, I don't know, just scanning the ticket for all caps and exclamation points?
It goes much deeper than simple keyword matching. Natural language processing analyzes the entire context of the communication.
Context.
Yeah, it looks at sentence structure, the frequency of contact, phrasing patterns. For instance, if a customer writes, "This is the third time I've asked for an update on this bug," the NLP understands the temporal frustration there.
Oh, wow. So it knows they're annoyed without them having to yell?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It recognizes the combination of third time and bug as an escalation indicator, even if the customer didn't use a single exclamation point or an angry keyword. It systematically extracts these nuanced signals across the entire backlog of tickets.
That makes a lot of sense. And the article lists a squad of what it calls ambient AI agents that do this specific work. Let's walk through what they actually do.
Sure.
There's an escalation agent, a sentiment agent, a knowledge agent, and a routing agent. How do these practically change the game for a support team?
Let's look at the escalation agent first. Because the NLP is analyzing those phrasing patterns we just talked about, it can literally predict an escalation before the customer even clicks the escalate to manager button.
That's wild.
Right. It flags the ticket for intervention while it's still just a simmering problem.
Wow.
And the sentiment agent is equally powerful. Traditionally, companies rely on post-resolution surveys, those emails asking, "How did we do today?" to gauge customer happiness.
Which nobody ever fills out unless they're incredibly angry.
Exactly. You get a totally skewed sample. But the sentiment agent unlocks the true voice of the customer because the sentiment is already embedded in the way the customer is writing the ticket itself.
So no more surveys?
Basically, the AI extracts a continuous, accurate sentiment score without ever needing to send a survey.
That is so smart.
Then you have the knowledge agent, which acts kind of like an auditor. It scans the support interactions to find questions that agents are consistently struggling to answer.
Which would tell you where your documentation is failing.
Pinpoints the exact gaps in your company documentation, yes. And finally, the routing agent uses all this data to automatically send the ticket to the right engineer based on their specific expertise, which eliminates the need for a human manager to manually assign cases.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, what SupportLogic is doing here is mapping the terrain before you build the road.
Exactly.
By identifying the top recurring contact reasons and predicting escalations before an agent even touches them, it replaces guesswork with visibility.
It's all about visibility.
The author states this perfectly, I think. He says, the root cause of chatbot failure is almost always that organizations simply don't know what they don't know about their own support queue. They are operating on gut instinct.
And gut instinct is a terrible foundation for automation.
Totally. But knowing your pantry is dark doesn't automatically cook the meal, right?
No, it doesn't.
How do you actually apply this extracted data to fix a chatbot rollout? The article outlines a 6-step operational sequence, and here's where it gets really interesting. I'd love to hear you reframe this not just as a list of steps, but as a narrative journey. How does a company actually experience this transformation?
Well, the journey has to start with a period of intentional silence.
Silence.
Yeah, before a company even talks to a chatbot vendor, they need to deploy the intelligence layer and just listen.
Oh, I see.
They let SupportLogic sit on their existing tickets for 4 to 6 weeks. During this time, the AI is accumulating enriched signals. It's reading the live tickets, it's reading the historical backlog, and it's using topic clustering.
Topic clustering? What's that?
It's a mathematical process where the NLP groups related phrases together to find the hidden patterns. What inevitably happens is the company realizes that out of thousands of possible problems, Just 10 to 20 specific issues represent 60 to 70% of their total ticket volume.
Wow. Which is an incredible moment of clarity. You suddenly see the 80-20 rule in perfect action.
Exactly.
So once they find those top 20 issues, what do they do next? Just hand them to the bot?
Not yet.
Oh.
Because the next phase of the journey is remediation.
Okay.
This is the crucial middle step that almost everyone skips. Before you train an AI, you have to fix your knowledge base.
Oh, right.
If the intelligence layer reveals that your existing articles on, say, how to configure a single sign-on are causing massive confusion and generating follow-up tickets, you must rewrite those articles first.
That makes total sense.
You have to fix the source material before you let a bot read it. Otherwise, you're just automating the confusion.
Automating the confusion. Okay, so the knowledge base is clean. Now they automate everything.
No, this is where strategic boundaries are drawn.
Ah.
The data tells you what you can automate, but more importantly, it tells you what you must never automate.
Right. We mentioned churn risk earlier.
Exactly. This relies heavily on those churn risk scores.
Yeah.
There are certain high-value, highly sensitive interactions that absolutely require human judgment and empathy. The data allows a company to draw a hard line and say, these specific intents never go to the bot.
Right. And to make this really concrete, there's a fantastic story in the text about a sauce company that learned this boundary lesson the hard way.
Oh, yes. That's a great example.
This company just assumed, based entirely on a gut feeling in the boardroom, that password resets were their number one deflectable issue.
Which seems logical. Everyone forgets their password.
Right. So if they had just gone out and bought a chatbot blind, they would have spent months training it to handle password resets. But when they actually ran the data through SupportLogic, it revealed that password resets were only fifth on the list.
Their intuition was completely disconnected from their reality.
Completely.
Yeah.
But here is the crazy part. Their actual number one driver of support tickets was a billing discrepancy.
Yikes.
It was caused by a specific pricing migration the company had recently executed. Now, think about the psychology of a billing discrepancy. A customer feels like you are overcharging them.
Right. They're not in a good mood.
No. They are confused, they feel cheated, and they are usually angry. That is a massive churn risk issue. It absolutely requires a human being to untangle the context, explain the migration, and soothe the customer over.
And this is where the peril of the chatbot trap is most obvious. If that company had just slapped a generic chatbot on their queue without looking at the data, the bot would have intercepted those billing complaints.
Oh, man.
It would have asked an angry, overcharged customer to please rephrase the question or offer them a link to a generic pricing page.
Which is the fastest way to make a customer cancel their contract entirely.
Absolutely.
They would have essentially automated their own customer churn.
Precisely. It highlights the severe financial risk of flying blind. A chatbot cannot de-escalate a complex pricing dispute.
No.
But because this company used the escalation scoring as a pre-routing layer, they could build a bypass lane.
A bypass lane.
Yeah, any incoming ticket that crossed a specific risk threshold or contained billing-related intent bypassed the chatbot entirely and went straight to a specialized human agent.
That's brilliant.
But you cannot build that bypass lane if you don't have the scoring infrastructure in place first. And once that infrastructure is in place, it completely changes how you buy software.
That's the vendor selection part of the sequence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about how companies normally buy software. They look at marketing materials and generic industry benchmarks.
Right, a sales deck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you have mapped your terrain first, you have your own highly specific data. You know your exact volume profile. You know the limits of what a bot can handle for your specific customer base, what we call the complexity ceiling. You can take all of that and write a highly specific request for proposal. You evaluate chatbot vendors based on whether they can handle your actual documented reality rather than a theoretical sales pitch.
Wow. So if sending a bot to handle a billing dispute is the ultimate pre-deployment sin, what are the other hidden landmines companies are stepping on?
There are quite a few.
The text outlines 5 specific pre-deployment risks that this intelligence-first methodology eliminates. We've covered training the bot on the wrong topics and automating high-risk interactions. But the third risk is something called knowledge base debt.
Yes.
And the author drops a really profound quote here. He says, a chatbot is a knowledge base amplifier. If the underlying knowledge is poor, the chatbot makes it faster to reach a wrong answer.
It's the old principle of garbage in, garbage out, but executed at a massive automated scale. Every major chatbot platform, whether it's an old-school decision tree or a cutting-edge generative AI, relies on your source content. Think about how human agents work. If a human agent knows a specific help article is outdated, they will mentally override it and give the customer the correct updated answer.
Because they have that context.
Exactly. But a chatbot doesn't have that institutional memory.
Yeah.
If different agents are leaving conflicting notes or old policies are never deleted, the database is corrupted. The chatbot will serve up that bad information with absolute unwavering confidence.
Which makes the customer even more angry.
Oh, completely.
And then the fourth risk mentioned is having no baseline for measuring ROI. And this seems so obvious once you think about it. If you don't measure your average handle times, your escalation rates, and your human agent effort scores before you deploy the bot,
Yeah.
how on earth are you going to prove to your CFO that the bot actually saved the company any money?
You simply can't. You're left pointing to that fundamentally flawed deflection rate metric we discussed at the top of the show.
Right.
By deploying an intelligence layer first, you automatically establish a concrete data-backed baseline before the bot even arrives.
That makes total sense. And the fifth risk is misaligned vendors, which ties right back into writing an RFP with actual data. Not all bots are the same.
Not at all.
Some are basically just glorified structured FAQs, while others use generative synthesis. And speaking of generative synthesis, the text has a whole section dedicated to the specific threats introduced by modern large language models, like GPT-4 or Claude.
The emergence of generative AI introduces a completely new layer of complexity to the chatbot trap.
Really? Why is that?
Well, many of these modern enterprise chatbots use a specific architecture called RAG, that's Retrieval Augmented Generation.
I hear that acronym everywhere lately.
Oh, yeah.
RAG. Break down this RAG architecture for me. What does that actually look like in practice?
Think of it in two distinct sequential phases. Instead of relying on pre-written, hard-coded responses authored by a human, a RAG system first acts like a search engine.
Okay, a search engine.
When a customer asks a question, the system searches your company's documents for relevant information. That's the retrieval phase.
Oh, God.
Then, it takes those retrieved documents and feeds them into a large language model to synthesize a brand new, natural-sounding conversational answer on the spot. That's the generation phase.
It sounds incredibly powerful and dynamic.
It is incredibly powerful, but it has a very well-documented, dangerous failure mode. And that is the confident hallucination.
The confident hallucination.
Yes,
Yeah.
because the LLM's primary goal is to generate a conversational response based on what it retrieved. It struggles with contradictory information.
Uh-oh.
If the generative AI reads two conflicting pieces of source material in your knowledge base, say, one active article says the return policy is 30 days, but an older, undeleted article in the archive says it's 14 days, the AI won't necessarily pause and ask a human manager for clarification.
It just guesses.
It'll simply pick one piece of information, synthesize it, and present it to the customer as absolute undeniable fact.
It's like giving an overconfident intern a damaged, contradictory rulebook.
That's exactly what it's like.
They'll enforce the completely wrong rules with absolute certainty, and they'll do it with a polite smile. And if they give a confidently wrong answer about a billing policy or a compliance issue, that is vastly worse than just saying, I don't know, let me get a human. You have to fix the rulebook first.
And that is exactly why SupportLogic's gap analysis is the mandatory prerequisite infrastructure. It identifies which documents are clean and safe for the RG system to retrieve, and which ones are contradictory and likely to trigger a hallucination.
Wow.
Furthermore, it defines the boundaries for the LLM. It uses the intent scoring to tell the generative AI, do not touch contract disputes under any circumstances. Do not touch compliance-sensitive inquiries. Those boundaries have to be drawn with hard data, not just vague instructions to the bot.
Okay, so let's follow the narrative through to the end. A company listens to this, they deploy SupportLogic, they audit their data, they rewrite their contradictory knowledge base, they pick the right vendor using their new data, and the chatbot successfully goes live.
Feels like a success.
Right. A lot of people might assume, great, the intelligence layer did its job, we can turn it off now. But the article makes it clear that deployment is really just the beginning.
It's an ongoing discipline. The text explicitly outlines step 6 of the sequence, which is post-deployment continuous intelligence.
Okay.
Once the chatbot is live, SupportLogic shifts from being a pre-deployment discovery platform to becoming the chatbot's permanent, real-time feedback loop.
But why does it need a feedback loop? I mean, if it works on day one, shouldn't it keep working?
Because reality is not static. Your company's products evolve, you release software updates, customer behaviors change, and the language they use to describe their problems changes.
Right.
A chatbot that is highly accurate on launch day will experience what we call silent degradation over time if it isn't continuously updated.
Silent degradation.
Yeah, SupportLogic stays on top of the queue, monitoring the live tickets for deflection failure patterns. If a new software update suddenly causes a spike in a completely new type of customer question, the intelligence layer detects that new phrasing pattern immediately.
So it catches it early.
It surfaces it to the support team as a new automation candidate, allowing them to train the chatbot on the new issue before it overwhelms the human agents. It prevents the bot from becoming obsolete.
Now, I want to pivot slightly for the highly technical listeners we have tuning in.
Sure.
Some engineering-forward organizations might be listening to this and thinking, we don't want to buy an off-the-shelf chatbot vendor. We have the internal engineering talent. We want to build our own custom NLP or LLM chatbot from scratch. Does this intelligence-first methodology still apply to an in-house build?
It applies even more so, because building your own AI amplifies the data problem.
Really?
Oh yeah. If your engineering team is building a custom system, the most valuable and frankly the most difficult resource to acquire is high-quality, perfectly labeled training data. SupportLogic provides exactly that. It acts as the ground truth data set for your internal engineering team.
Meaning all those extracted signals we talked about, the specific intent labels, the sentiment scores, the historical resolution quality, that becomes the clean fuel for their custom build.
Correct. We discussed the concept of an intent taxonomy earlier.
Right.
To define that clearly for builders listening, an intent taxonomy is a highly structured, organized map of what your customers are actually trying to achieve, categorized by topic, urgency, and outcome.
Okay.
Instead of your engineering team spending 6 tedious months manually reading and labeling tens of thousands of old support tickets to build that taxonomy from scratch, SupportLogic has already done the heavy computational lifting.
That saves a ton of time.
It provides the structured map and the evaluation benchmarks needed to train and validate any custom system. The article notes that having this data advantage on day one can accelerate a custom chatbot development program by months. You're effectively skipping the most error-prone phase of machine learning development entirely.
So what does this all mean? We've covered a tremendous amount of ground here, from the trap of blind automation to the power of a continuous feedback loop.
We really have.
The core takeaway synthesized from Krishna Raja's piece is this, I think. Chatbot deployments fail when they automate a problem that isn't understood.
Exactly.
By deploying an intelligence layer first, mining the reality of your unstructured text, fixing your broken knowledge base, and keeping that intelligence running as a continuous monitor, you fundamentally transform your support operations.
Yes, you do.
It stops being a blind gamble on a shiny new piece of technology and becomes a precise, data-driven discipline.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the underlying philosophy is quite profound. True return on investment in the AI era isn't just about deflecting customers away from your business to save a few dollars on headcount.
No.
It is about clarity, and it is about precision routing. Automation without intelligence is just doing the wrong things faster.
Doing the wrong things faster. That is a brilliant distillation, and it is absolutely going to stick with me.
Me too.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to turn directly to you, the listener, with a final provocative thought to mull over.
Go for it.
We've spent this entire deep dive talking about using this AI intelligence to manage the customer's experience, to make sure they get routed correctly and don't end up in a frustrating loop.
Right.
But think about the human agents sitting on the other side of the screen. If you successfully follow the sequence, if the chatbot successfully handles all the simple, repetitive questions like password resets and basic FAQs, that means the human agents are now only dealing with the most complex, the most frustrated, and the highest risk customers all day long.
Yeah.
Their entire daily queue becomes nothing but escalations. How will companies need to fundamentally change the way they train, compensate, and emotionally support their human workers when every single ticket they see is a crisis?
Yeah, it's a massive shift.
That's a whole new paradigm for the human workforce that we are just beginning to face. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring the hidden signals in your own work, and we'll catch you next time.